All right, so we haven't done a recap in a long time. We apologize for that. So we have lots to recap. We basically finished our last... Yeah, like a lot. We finished our last one was the end of the fall... Or, I'm sorry, end of the summer pre-fall season. So it's been a bit. So, yeah. Go ahead. Tell us about something.
So where we left off was our stupendous comeback from an ugly first inning in the championship game to coming back and absolutely dominating the last 5 innings of that game, which I still haven't quite gotten over how we just shut them down.
It was good. It was very good.
So since then, we've started fall season. We've got a new Monday night team that Cam is captaining called 2 Out Rally.
2 Out Rally.
Talk about them.
We've
if
got
you
jerseys.
haven't listened to How to Build a Team podcast, a lot of the thought that went into that podcast was directly applicable to how we built and structured the lineup for this team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Give it a listen if you haven't.
Absolutely.
So we'll talk about how they're doing. We also play in a Friday night league in Double D in San Francisco, which is the more competitive non-composite bat league. And then Cam is also playing Tuesday nights on a team that I used to play on, but my body needed a rest.
You're still there. You'll be there for the playoffs, I'm sure, assuming we make it.
I'm still in the WhatsApp chat.
Yeah, he's still in the chat, so he'll be there eventually. It's fine.
Yeah.
We got lots of makeups though. We got a bunch of rain here last week, so I've got at least 3 games that need to be made up. Hopefully, we still play tonight. I don't know. So
it looked like they played at Jackson yesterday.
They played at Jackson 2. Jackson 1 I don't think was usable, or either that or they just readjusted. So I'm gonna go on a little mini I'm from the Midwest and you guys are a little soft rant.
Here we go.
So in the Midwest, all of you that are from the Midwest or the East Coast, you know that in the summertime it rains like once a week, and it legitimately rains for a few hours or 4 or 5 hours or a day. And you don't play softball that day, but you probably play the next day, and it's probably fine, and no big deal. It's not a thing. Here in the Bay Area, if water forms into droplets of any size, no matter how small, it is pandemonium. People forget how to drive. The world ends. People stock up on milk and bread and hoard their toilet paper. I don't understand it, but... on Saturday, Sunday, probably some into Monday, we had, was it 2 inches of rain maybe?
It's 4 inches of rain. It was the rainiest day in the history of October San Francisco.
Right. So it rained a lot. Don't get me wrong, but I can't imagine it's nothing that a little dirt and a nice raking or two could have taken care of a field. Yet,
let's pretend like we actually have staff in the city that would do that.
I'll do it. Just tell me. I'll go out there. It's not that hard. Anyway, games have been canceled all the way up until, I think, yesterday. Actually, no. They think they played on Jackson 2 on Wednesday, so maybe they played all the games yesterday. But even then, I'm sorry. It's a little ridiculous, San Francisco. Come on.
Here you go.
You
As
can
of
do
Thursday, all fields open.
Okay, well, at least they got into it by then. Now, Monday, I can understand that one. That makes sense. But by Tuesday, it was literally sunny all Tuesday. You got to get that situation figured out by Tuesday, guys. Come on.
I will say, though, that Midwest summer rain also comes with, like, a solid 70 to 80 degree day where a lot of that rain goes right back into the sky.
Well,
and it dries out very quickly.
It's true. And also, we have real dirt there. And so real dirt actually absorbs water and disperses it properly, whereas it's very like
cement kitty litter.
Yeah, it's very like sandy here. So it either is like it's either concrete hard or it's just kind of sandy, and it pools on top and rolls around, and then it just stays there and makes for awful.
But this way, I think San Francisco's probably got some of the worst fields I've ever played on.
They're not great, but they're what we have. But that's my rant. I see you Midwesterners. I feel like we're a little tougher than the West Coasters. I'm going to say it.
Yeah.
I feel like we'll play in the rain. You know, we'll do that. We don't care. I've played in snow. I've played softball in snow.
I feel like that'd be kind of fun.
It's a little fun. I mean, it wasn't a lot of snow, but it was snow, so it wasn't enough.
Stick?
It was starting to stick. So it was like, it was no snow, right? But I want to say this was fall, not spring. It was no snow on the ground when we started. And then it started to snow. Not like a crazy snow, but it started to snow, and you could see it starting to stick to the grass by the time we were done. We'll do it, you know. But it was nice, though, because it was, those of you who don't see a lot of snow, I always find that it can be super cold when it's not snowing, and then as soon as it starts to snow, it feels warmer. And I don't know if that's a weird insulation thing or what, but we were playing and it felt like 40 degrees, which not so bad in November in the Midwest, to be honest with you. So
Fair.
It was 40 degrees with a little light snow, and we were like, yeah, let's go swing the bat. It'll be fine. So we got out all our metal bats. We weren't swinging our composite bats, that's for sure. But yeah, or we just got the old ones that were about to go anyway. Yeah. So anyway, that's my rant about weather and softball. Just play. That's what I say.
So we also had a tournament that the Sharks team played in San Diego.
Yes, which I was not able to attend.
There's also an update there. So we have a lot to unpack for the listeners.
We do. Let's go chronological. Let's go chronological. Which one of those things happened first?
I feel like the season started for like a week before we went, but maybe I'm mistaken.
Yeah, it had started beforehand. It was a week or two in before that tournament, I'm pretty sure. So, so we started game 1. We played at Jackson 2, which, if you're from San Francisco, you know Jackson 2 is not as good as Jackson 1. Not that either of them are great. So we had a little weirdness there.
This is the composite team, right?
Yes.
Two-out rally.
So this is 2-out rally. This is the C division, which it's a little misleading because C is as high as they rank for whatever reason in the city of San Francisco. So basically, C is the catch-all for anybody that is C and above. So this is the top league in the city right now.
Don't try to equate it to U-Trip ratings. It does not directly correlate.
It doesn't even really correlate to U-Trip ratings, to be honest with you. It's literally like, it's the catch-all for, it's kind of like when you look at ASA, and it's kind of the catch-all for anyone at a level and below. So it's like everybody can play. It's kind of the opposite of that. It is the, like, everyone above this level plays there, whether you are an all-star. Like, if there was a conference player in the city of San Francisco, they would play in this league because that's as high as it goes.
There is a team so there used to be a double C division in San Francisco, which had, the reason why it's not existent anymore is they only had like 3 or 4 teams, but Olympic Club had 4 or 5 guys that are ex-college baseball guys that I'm not kidding you, they hit it like 380.
Yeah.
Back to back to back. I was playing almost on the baseball field at Moscone.
Yeah. It's rough when you have no fences on against a team like that. Like, I feel like it'd be very different games if we had a fenced field.
Sure. Fence and home run
limited home runs.
Changes everything about
Absolutely,
games.
Absolutely. And those balls that hit, that you get hit into the gap, that would normally, you hit it in the gap, but now it hits the fence, that's a double. But instead, it rolls because there's another 200 feet of field back there, and now it's a home run every time. So that doesn't count against any sort of limit. Anyway, I digress. So we started... So the nice thing is a lot of these guys on this team have played in our Meetup before. It's a little bit of a Meetup all-star team, not exactly, but most of the guys are from the Meetup, and we have all played together, but we had not all played together on a league competitive team before. So first inning was a little bit tough. We gave up a bunch. We gave up I want to say we gave up 8 or so. And
also note that we're starting with a pitcher who is just now picking up competitive.
That's true.
Pitching.
Shout out Jay-Z. So yes. So, but I mean, he knows what to do. It's more about just like more experience doing it, but he knows what to do. And so
he knows how to throw the ball underhand.
Absolutely. He's got it. He's got it figured out.
No, it's not a knock on him. It's just from an experience perspective, he's just kind of dabbling into this higher level competition with pitching.
Right. It's not like a guy that's been doing it for a decade. Yeah, exactly. So gave up a bunch, came up to bat, ended up like wiping out that lead, and I think we scored 10 or 12 or something like that. So we came right back and answered. And then it was a little back and forth throughout the game, and then we ended up going up by like, I can't remember. It was less than 10, but it was kind of a comfortable handful maybe at the end. Ended up winning the first game. Was a lot of fun. It was cool and different because, again, we play with those guys during Meetup. And with Meetup, it's always a mixed bag. So we'll have some of these guys that are definitely high level, play in the top league type of skill, are playing in the same game sometimes as, people that are complete beginners. But I mean, that's just the nature of pickup games. But it was kind of neat to kind of test ourselves as, okay, the guys on the other side of this are as good or better than us. Let's see what we can do. So it was kind of a cool thing there. Didn't have everybody there. Jason wasn't able to be there. So I wouldn't say it was our optimal setup, but it was still pretty good, and it worked out all right. Trying to remember, actually, let me bring it up here real quick, because I'm trying to remember what actually happened the second game. It's been a while, guys. I told you, it's been a while. So trying to recall, this was like a month ago at this point.
So one thing that I've been thinking about as you look this up, we had a full discussion about top 3 most valuable defensive positions on the field. And I think a lot of that discussion was based on A, having a fence, B, having, B-level USA softball type players, right? So we kind of built it around our GSL teams stuff, or our U-Trip team.
Yeah.
My question, as I think about our C team in San Francisco City League, does that change your value structure for defensive positioning based on the league players that we've seen versus the tournament players that we've seen? Specifically putting a higher value on infield capabilities versus outfield capabilities.
Okay, and you're saying specifically because it's league and because it's no fence?
No fence, and also just the talent baseline, I feel like in city leagues is generally lower than tournament teams.
Okay.
Like you definitely have like high level players, but right. I think there's also a bottom half of the league that probably isn't up to the baseline standard of what we would play on a tournament team.
Got you.
And so the idea is, I feel like the frequency of ground balls in the C division in City League is higher than it is in our tournaments that we play in. Okay. So I'm asking you, do you think there is a higher value on defensive prowess in the infield due to the higher frequency of ground balls that go through the infield?
I would say there probably is. I feel so it's kind of twofold. So I feel like in league we see more of those ground balls to the infield. So you would think in a normal situation that playing a 5-man would be a good idea because you see more ground balls. But because of the city fields, there are no fences. And if you only have 3 outfielders with no fences, every gapper is a home run because it'll just roll. And then, so the paradox there is that there are more ground balls and you would be at a major advantage to have an extra infielder to field those ground balls. But you have to account for the fact that if you don't have 4 outfielders, every ball that's not directly at an outfielder is a home run if you don't have 4 outfielders. So I would say you still have to have 4 outfielders. I mean, I think it's a requirement. There's no question about that. I think if you play a 5-man with a no fence field, you're doing it wrong. Like
you're asking for trouble.
You're absolutely asking for trouble, unless for whatever reason you're playing a team that has no power. Which, if you get to that level, that doesn't really exist anymore. Like there's even on the least powerful teams at that level, you've got 3 to 5 guys that could take advantage of a 3-man outfield. And so you can't do it. Like it's not worth doing. And again, while you do get to know some of these batters a little bit, and some people already from the city, so you can kind of play to where okay, this is what they're good at, this is what they're bad at, let's adjust to force them to do the thing they're not as good at. Most lineups, I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think how more than a couple of guys, maybe 3 guys hit on that team coming into the game, and then you just have to make adjustments based on what happens in that game. And so it's a lot more like a tournament type style where you don't have any scouting report. Like you don't, I mean, you have a little bit, but you're making the scouting report on the fly. And so it's hard to make those adjustments. But to your original point, I think the ground ball stuff is a lot more important than what we discussed previously. And this is probably more specific to where we play in the fields we play on, because most of the fields we play on have a stiff wind that blows in from blows from the left field fence towards home plate almost all the time. And if we're lucky, it's blowing across the field. Lucky for the hitters, it's going across the field and not straight in. Yeah. But therefore, a lot more hitters have not only gotten good at, but try to hit opposite side. So now I think your second baseman sees a lot more action, and even the first baseman sees a lot more action. So I think it does become important, more so than what we had discussed previously. So again, if nothing else, I think this speaks to no matter what advice you listen to from us or anyone else, you got to know the game you're playing on the field you're playing with the players you're playing. You have to be able to make adjustments based on your specific situation, and you can't there's no cookie cutter for this. So, to your point, I would say there definitely is there's more need for more infield skill from more players in the league setting, at least in our San Francisco league setting. I'm sure it'd be different if you played like places I played back in Illinois where there's fences and you could play on one of 3 or 4 different fields that were all facing different directions. So it's not like every time you play the wind's blowing in from left. You could have a doubleheader where game 1 blowing in from left, and then you go to the next field over and it's blowing in from right or whatever. So it's you're not pigeonholed so much in that. So Take that advice with a grain of salt, I guess.
Okay, I'm glad to know that it wasn't just me that was seeing that frequency of ground balls, especially like you said, to the backside
to the right side. Hitters.
I think back to the last game we played in, and this is jumping a little bit ahead in the recap of our Monday Night League, but I feel like the second base / first base side got blown up all the time.
They did, and we were a little bit of a disadvantage too, because we've had our friend Eric playing third base the whole game or the whole season thus far, and he wasn't able to make it. So we were down an infielder, so I took over third base. I thought I did all right over there, but the issue was that we had another one of our guys play second that has been playing a lot of outfield. He does have infield experience, but I think he's been playing more outfield than infield in more recent months. And so I think it was just like there was an adjustment period there, and it was just like it was hard. It was just we were caught a little, resting on our laurels, I think, a little bit there, which again, I'm not blaming him for anything like that. It's just our personnel wasn't quite there.
Game at the end of the day, anyway.
No, definitely wasn't. We couldn't hit. But
common theme you'll see.
Yeah. So it definitely shows, and I think not to say I'm a better infielder than that guy, but I've been playing more infield more frequently, more often, more recently, I should say. So normally I would have put myself at second base, and not to say I would have made the plays that he didn't, but it may have been a little bit different just having just a more fresh memory and fresh experience of having played infield, over the last month and a half, instead of he may have not been played in the infield for a while, or maybe 1 or 2 games here and there instead of every game. So
I will say that was probably the best game I've seen you play at third base.
Yeah, I've been trying to, I think after the Sharks season we played over the summer was my first real season, real competition type of test at third base. I've been playing it at Meetup, just kind of learning it. Not to say that I don't get some good practice there, but every person that steps up to the plate is not a threat. Not a major threat to just rocket one at me, whereas in the Sharks, it doesn't matter if the number 10 batter, or they're batting 12, the number 12 batter could literally hit a line drive down your throat at third base. And I felt like I did okay for the Sharks, but there was definitely a lot of holes in my game, and I've been trying to work on it since then, and I think it is starting to come together.
Your throws you're right on point.
Yeah, throws were a lot better. I don't know if I was just getting the yips before or what, but yeah, I made a lot of errant throws during the Sharks season.
I mean, it helps now that you have a guy that's 6'5" playing first base too.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he's a big fella. Yeah, but I mean, I think a lot of it too was just the ball gets hit real hard, and I was concentrating real hard on making sure I get it. And then I get the ball, and then I look up, and the guy seems like he's almost to first base already, and I was just rushing that throw. And so I've been really trying to just field it, take a breath, and make a right throw. Even if it's a half a step late, I'd rather make a right throw a half a step late than an errant throw that gives him second base or third base or whatever. So
sure.
So I think it was just trying to, I hear them say this on NFL casts all the time for rookies, that at a certain point, the game starts to slow down. And I think that's starting to happen for me in the corner infield, is that the game's starting to slow down a little bit. So I can pick a ball, and then I can make a throw, and I can even take a second to be like I know there was one play last, 2 Mondays ago, the last game we played, where we had a runner on third. And I was able to, it wasn't a slow roller, but it was like a chopper that was coming at me. And so I was able to charge it a little bit. So I had a couple steps forward. I was able to field the ball, and I was able to check him at third. I looked at him, and I saw, we met eyes. He was like, oh no. And then I was able to make the throw and still get the guy out at first. But I could see it.
Go home.
Yeah, I could see in his eyes. He was like, oh, he sees me. I can't go anywhere. So I was able to I would say over the summer during the Sharks, I would have been so worried about just picking that ball up and making the throw. I probably wouldn't even have thought to check the third base runner, let alone check him enough to hold him and make the throw. So I think just, again, game's starting to slow down a little bit for me, which is good. I knew it would eventually. It's frustrating when you get good, you get good at outfield, and I know that I'm at this level, and then you start something new and you're not that good yet. You're just kind of average, and so it gets a little frustrating. But again, I think the game is starting to slow down. So yeah, I think so. I think it's coming along.
Good.
But yeah, to go back to second game, now that I have the stats up here, second game we played against it's under a different name, but basically the roster is the same team that won this league the previous year.
Easy breezy.
Basically, yeah, it was basically them, but they're under a different name. Not quite the same lineup, but pretty close.
Something Ado, right?
Yeah, the Ado Boys, I think is what it's called.
Yeah,
Ado Boys.
Aiden's on their team.
Right. Yeah, who we play with on tournament team, USSSA tournament.
Yeah, so he's a U-Trip D player.
Right. And so we actually came out, we gave him a run. I can't remember the final score, but it was something like 18-15. So it was a tight game, and we kept with it. It was crazy. This is actually, I thought of this after the game, but I have no
24-15 final score.
What was it?
24-15.
24. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. So yeah. So I think we were only down by like 2 or 3 going into the last inning, and then they went up on us. That's what it was. I just remember it being tight almost all the way through. It was definitely a winnable game. We just weren't able to win at the end. But it was really strange. I remember thinking this. So their first at bats, almost the entire lineup hit the ball to left side. I was playing left field. Hit the ball to left side. Some line drives, some grounders, some fly ball outs. Which, whatever, okay. Which normally you don't see so much on that field because the wind blows in from left. Okay. And then it seemed like it was almost like it was a concerted effort. The second time through, they all hit to the right side almost. Like everybody. And so I don't know if it was a conscious adjustment by individual players or by the team got together and said, hey, they're getting us out on the left side, let's hit to the right side. And so they'd hit to the right side. And we still got, a fair amount of outs, and I don't know. They weren't blowing us out. I don't know if we were ahead, they were ahead, but it was a pretty tight game still. And then the third time through, the entire team almost hit the ball, just power hit the ball to the left center gap, like in between left field and the left center fielder. And they hit a number of, their home runs in this league because there's no fence. There's a number of them that would have been over fences anyway, but it was just so strange that normally you can get a bead on a player, you can get a bead on a team, like, oh, this is what they're going to do, this is how they're playing, this is their bread and butter. But it was almost like this concerted effort of, we're going to do this time around, we're going to do this time around, and then we're going to do this the next time around. And I mean, it worked. It was just crazy. Like you couldn't make a plan for it, which again, kudos to them. I don't know if they did it on purpose or not, but it worked. Sure. So, yeah, I don't know. That was a weird one, but it was a good game. It was a tight game. And then the next one, because we've played 4 games now, the next one I was actually not at, so you're going to have to speak to this one. This was the one versus the Liquidators.
Yeah, so Liquidators was a team that a lot of us used to play on. I know that Sam had played on it, myself, Jay-Z. I don't know if you subbed for the...
I never did. There's definitely 1 or 2 other people on the team that have, because I remember them talking about it, but I don't recall who it was.
So Flatliners has a couple other players that play in Meetup, and just other pickup leagues. So we know a lot of these guys. Liquidators. But they picked up like half of the Flatliners team. So I would say it was 5 Liquidators and 5 of the best Flatliners players that they had. And the craziest thing is they had like 4 lefties in their lineup, which is super rare. And it was just one of those games where we just couldn't hit. What you'll see, we'll talk about is the next game that we played against the actual Flatliners. The bats showed up. This game,
they did. Yeah, they did.
The bats did not show up, and so the final score was 15-7. Honestly, most of their offense came from their subs that weren't even actually on the team.
But we're not salty at all.
I mean, 15 runs over a 7-inning game is not terrible defensively. I mean, 2 runs an inning is really not that bad, but when you score 1 run an inning, not going to do it.
No, definitely not.
So just an instance of nobody was hitting.
Nobody was hitting the ball.
And not much you can do about it when no one's hitting.
That's true. That's true.
You can't stop. Shutout rarely, if ever, happens in softball. So, I mean, at the end of the day, you've got to score more runs than the other teams. If you give it 15, you got to score 16 or more. And we did not score 16 or more.
I'm looking at the line here. Any particular highlights from that? I mean, I know on a game like that, there's probably not, but any takeaways, I guess. Obviously we need to hit. And I think when you only score 7 runs, there's not a lot of nuance. It's just, you just got to hit, but any takeaways you could say from that performance? Anything that could have been different? I mean, that we could change or that you would take away to work on?
I think this is something that is going to be a common theme that we've talked about in the past. And what I've seen more with this team is the lack of people taking pitches. Mm-hmm. I don't see it nearly enough to be competitive consistently at the plate. And I think that's why you see these peaks and valleys on offense is, not all strikes are made equal.
Right.
Here's an example. I've got a 3-1 count. I want to go up there and I want to find a pitch that I want to hit.
100%.
That doesn't mean 100% of the time it has to be a strike per se, but I want to be what I want.
Yeah.
And I think what happens is there are strikes and somebody feels like in that advantaged count, I have to swing at a strike.
Yeah, which you
but in reality,
absolutely do not.
You don't.
Yes.
So an example would be like, I'm looking for something middle away to drive to right field.
Right.
If somebody throws me a beautiful slider that's going to come in on the letters and swing back and land on the mat and hit the very back corner, I tip my cap to you and I take that.
Absolutely. Beautiful pitch.
Every time.
Good job.
But I feel like there's this sense in our group, and I think a lot of it does stem from Meetup and the lack of just general strike throwing that occurs.
I've been guilty of this too, so I can attest to this.
Swing. And
yes.
I think there's a lot more nuance to that than we currently collectively as a team respect. And I think that has a lot to do with why we're not doing as well consistently on offense as we could.
Yeah.
I still don't think that people respect a walk as if it's equivalent to a single.
Which they should. But yes, you are absolutely right.
Of course they should. There are rare instances where, let's say you've got 2 outs and it's a 3-1 count and the guy behind you's injured. And you know that they may not be able to leg one out. Maybe you expand your zone a little bit knowing that you've got to do something, or it might be a little bit more of a liability. But I don't think our team really has that. And so
no, not really.
Next man up is something that as you get more consistent as a team and play more frequently, you have that confidence for the guy behind you to say, hey, I'm going to take a walk because I have confidence that this guy's going to get me in.
Yeah.
But right now I feel like a lot of us are in swing mode.
Yes.
A lot. And I think that works out a fair amount of time, but in a 3-1 count, unless it's something you know that you can drive, like, hey, take that strike, live to see another pitch. You can still get on base. You can still, you can swing with 2 strikes. It's okay. It's not scary.
Yeah, and I think maybe this does go through people's mind, but I feel like it doesn't. The idea that when you play Meetup, you can always look out on the field on Meetup and say, these 4 guys or girls in these positions are pretty good. I don't want to hit at them. But you almost always have at least 1, if not 2 or 3, where you're like, I'll take my chances hitting it that direction and I can get away with something. And I think a lot of people that are just I want to hit and I don't want to take a walk don't think about when you get into the high level league, everybody on that field can play defense. And there might be a guy or here you could expose, but for the most part, you can't count on anyone not making their routine play. And so instead of saying, wow, 3-1, if I take this and it's a ball and I get a walk, that's a gift. Instead of, I can't believe I had to take a walk, which I think is the mentality sometimes.
Yeah.
So,
just contextually too, for those of you guys that are listening that don't go to Meetup, the pitching can be inconsistent enough that we had to create a rule that would more or less allow the offensive team to boot the other pitcher for throwing too many consecutive balls or walking too many batters in an inning. So just use that as a little bit of context for what we're coming to with this, which is if you see a strike, swing at a strike, because there have been at-bats where you'll see 4 straight pitches that may not even come close to spitting on the plate. Yeah. And so you see something that comes close and you're like, I'm ready for a pitch. Give me a pitch. Yeah. Close enough, I'll swing. Yeah. And in league, it's not the same. Like if somebody's going to throw 5 straight pitches that are nowhere near the plate, take them, get on base, let the next guy deal with that problem, because they may follow the same thing. Now you got 2 guys on. You haven't even had to do anything.
Yeah.
So don't help the pitcher out.
Right. And not to mention those of us that got used to Meetup, the strike zone mat is extended in Meetup.
Mm-hmm.
You can take up to 6 balls in Meetup. So there's a lot. So it's a lot of things that they don't seem like a big deal, but you do have to consider them when you go to a regular game that, like, you know, and again, I get it because Meetup, it is for fun. And we have tried to emphasize get out, swing the bat, hit the ball, have fun instead of win. And I think that's the mentality you have to change a little bit is win, you know? Yeah. And I've got the stats here in front of me. 1 walk was taken in that entire game. You know who took it?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Jason did.
Hey,
Jason
I think I also went 0 for 2 though. So
yeah, well, you'll have that. Yeah, we had 1 walk, 3 sack flies, and I don't know the exact number, but I bet you our team on base was under 500 because I'm just looking at it randomly here.
Yeah, I mean, scoring 7 runs and we played 7 innings if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not leading to getting a lot of people on base.
It is not. It is not.
So
and I was incorrect. I thought we had 4 games. We've actually played 5. So
yeah. So after that game, we proceeded to have a bye week.
We did.
And we also then for the Monday night team, a few of us went to play in San Diego in a tournament.
Right. The Monday that almost everybody flew back from San Diego. I was going to be included in this had I gone. Flew back during the day, and then we had a game. I think it was a late game. It was like 8:50, so we had a game at like 9 p.m. So awesome to all you guys that made it back. There was what 1, 2, 3,
3 of us.
3 of you, yeah, 3 of you that flew back from San Diego after playing an entire weekend of softball. Jason's arm was basically hanging from the shoulder because he'd made so many throws all weekend, but he still got out there and played.
Accurate. I don't know. It was one of those things where like I was lucky enough to have that rep that I'll throw you out because no one would run on me when I was just like, I literally can't throw it back to the cutoff man right now.
Yeah, I think I was playing second base and I was just like, I would go cut you off and I would just run an extra like 20 feet out and be like, just throw it to me. It's okay. Just throw it to me. I'll make up for it. It's fine.
But we scored 30 runs.
We laid it on. We laid it on thick that game, which, I mean, I can't remember who was missing from that game, but for whatever reason, that lineup that day was on point.
Chris Hunter wasn't there.
Nick Condi was there. That's the only game he has been at for this team. The only one he's been able to go for, and he batted, or he was on base 1,000. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
What I got him here? I got him with 3 singles, a home run. I guess he had a sac fly, so I guess he wasn't 1,000. He had 1,000 average. 3 singles, a home run, and a sac fly. So great to have him in there, you know. And then I can't imagine. I don't know the exact number here, but I'm looking at our lineup. We batted 11, I think. And
I'm pretty sure everyone batted like 5 times, right?
Yeah, I think we all had 5 at bats. Where's my on base? So on base numbers down the lineup: 600, 800, 600, 800, 800, 800, 800, 1,000, 400, 1,000. So
that'll do well.
That's how you score 30 runs. We had who was it here? Oh.
You.
It was me. Sorry. I was like, somebody had 8 runs created. I was like, oh, that was me. Sorry. So I had a really good game. I hit for the cycle, I think, that game.
You did. You did.
But yeah, I mean, everybody had a great game. Let's see. No, Sam. Sam had 3 doubles in the game, so that's a performance right there. Mm-hmm. You know, single, 3 doubles, and a sac fly. That's a pretty good day. But yeah, all the way around, we laid it on pretty thick there, which was awesome. Had a lot of fun. It was versus the Flatliners, which we know a number of people that played for that team, so that was extra fun. We got to jaw a little bit, all in fun, but like, you know, on the base path, like when somebody's on second, like you can kind of, you know, friendly trash talk, stuff like that, and just chit-chatting. So that was always fun to show up your friends once in a while. So I'm sure they'll get us later on, and we'll have to eat our words. But it's always fun to do that a little bit. So shout out to Dan and John and JT.
Jason.
So yeah, so shout out to those guys. I don't think there's anybody else on that team that I really knew well, but
there's a couple of guys that we knew.
Yeah, and I know there's some guys I played with, but I don't really know them very well. So
yeah, shout out to Jason who hit a bomb.
Oh my gosh!
In the first inning, like I've never seen him. He dropped one like a good 350.
It was right down the left field line too, just an absolute bomb. And then poor Quincy, who was playing left field, like everybody Quincy, you gotta back up, and we're like, Quincy, it's like Quincy can't play left field at 350. Like there's nothing you could do about that. I felt so bad for him. You'd be giving him
an automatic double anything that fell in front of him.
Yeah. I felt so bad for him because he had like 2 or 3 of them that were just bombed over his head, and there's nothing he could do about it, and there's nothing anybody could expect him to do about it. He got picked on a little bit, and not for his own fault by any means. So
also shout out Jay-Z, our pitcher, who played the entire game in a 2-2.
That's true because he lost a bet. He
2-2
lost a
power.
Bet. So
maybe we should start playing with the 2-2 more often.
It worked. 30 runs, 2-2 power. So not so bad. And that brings us to our last game we played, which was actually, 2 weeks ago at this point. Almost 2 weeks ago. Not quite. Which we got beat up.
Run ruled.
Yeah, we got run ruled. So good example. We played the team. They're called the Model O's. They are one of those teams that just nickel and dime you to death. Like,
that's the team I wish we were.
Honestly, I wish we could do that. I wish we could do that with occasional power, like with situational power. Like I wish we could do that, and then once the other team makes the adjustment, then we just bomb a few over their head and back them back up. I really wish that's something. But again, that is teamwork. That is a team getting together and having a plan. Whether or not they discuss it or not, they all know, hey guys, our game is on base. And they were, I have no idea what their numbers were, but I don't think...
There was a lot of traffic.
There was a ton of traffic on the base path. They did a great job. Played good defense too. We didn't score a ton. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, we only scored 11. And again, we weren't... Well... I want to say we weren't horrible at the plate, but we kind of were. Their pitcher.
There were very few rallies.
There were very few rallies, especially with 2 outs. And so to Jason's point from a little earlier, we was talking about a pitcher that throws palm up versus palm down. This guy was a primarily palm down guy, which we don't see as much of. And I think because a lot of his stuff was coming up short, or they were hitting the very, 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 very front of the strike zone, and he was getting strikes for it. And I think we had a hard time as a team adjusting for that.
I remember, I think your last at bat, your back foot was at the front of the plate.
Oh man, I was way up in the box. I was like, if there's anything, because I don't recall, maybe like 1 out of every 10 to 15 pitches, he would throw a strike that would actually land on the back half of the mat or farther back. So what was I saying?
Any last thoughts on how the Meetup group has performed in a competitive setting to date?
I would say so far, we're certainly not playing to our potential. I think a little bit of it is adjusting to a different level of play. And while all of us have played together a lot through Meetup, I think, again, when you play Meetup, just because I'm playing with Jason at Meetup doesn't mean we're on the same team. It also doesn't mean that we're playing our strongest position, because Meetup is a great place to try something, or do something else, or whatever it might be, or like practice a weird shift or something like that. So I think we are not necessarily, as a team, we're not quite gelled at all of us playing our best position together all the time. So I don't think we're quite there yet. Also, and again, this is just how having a team works. Every week it seems like I could be like, man, I really wish I had, this guy couldn't make it. I really wish we had him this week because he's our best option at position X. Or this guy is a critical leadoff or number 2 batter or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like every week there's somewhere where I'm like, man, if we had this guy that was able to do this week, that would really help us out. Like last week we were a little short on infielders, and it didn't help us all, a lot. And again, not that it was the reason we won or lost the game, but like if this one person who couldn't make it could have been there, we could have shifted some things around, and then we could have got someone that was playing a position they're not super used to, playing a position that they are used to, and then, you know what I mean? So like, I feel like we haven't, that game against the Flatliners where we just dominated, maybe, but I feel like we haven't quite put the best team on the field all at once yet. So, there's definitely some room to work there, and I also think there's a couple of guys that are making more adjustments than other guys are. So it's coming along. Do want to shout out our buddy Efren though.
That guy's a monster at
dude.
the plate.
Like, again, I've played with him before. I knew he's good. I knew he has like crazy power. Like, I know all those things, right? But for whatever reason, it just didn't all quite like gel. But the guy is on base. He's leading the team on base at 765.
That's a solid number.
His slugging, he's almost leading the team in slugging, only behind Sam and Nick Conde, which Nick Conde doesn't really count because he only played one game so far. But he's got a 1133 slugging, so or OBPS 1898,
almost 2.
Yeah, and he was leading before last game. He was like 1 for 3 or something last game, but just having a monster season, and he's on a bum leg.
He's playing with a banged up Achilles.
Yeah, he's been playing catcher for us, and up until the last game or last 2 games, we basically have been giving him a courtesy runner every time he got on base, but the guy is just hitting like crazy. So I really want to put him in the 4 spot, but because he hasn't been able to run, I've been like putting him in like 6 or something like that. But just killing it. So definitely shout out to him. We've got a lot of guys that are killing it, but he just above and beyond right now. So awesome from him. A couple other general things. Again, we've got all our stats. I keep all the stats here. One big thing that I wanted to just track as a team that I've been able to do so far was that I think is going to convert to better play was team total on base percentage.
Okay.
And right now it's kind of done this. So we've had games where it's big peak and we've had other games where big valley, but right now our team average is 603. So
that should be,
it's not awful, but again, the problem is that we'll have a game where we're 800, and then we'll have a game where we're 400, and then we'll have a game, so that's...
It won't consistently be 600.
Right. And I think if we were 600 all the time, we would win 2 out of 3, 3 out of 4 games all the time. So I think that's really the big thing. I think that if we could get that locked in, I think would make the big difference in our overall record performance, making the playoffs, all those things, all the above.
Sure.
And we've still got a few games left, 3 games left, I think. We just had one rained out.
3 games left.
I am going to miss one of them, but...
It sounds like Monday might rain too, so we might not even play this Monday.
Come on. Well, either way, we've got a few games to make up, 3 games left. I don't remember what our record is. I think we're 2-3 right now.
Win, loss, win, loss. Yeah, 2-3.
2-3 with 3 games left, so we could
probably
get to
win
5-3. We would probably need to win out to make the playoffs. Be a tough one, but it could happen. So I think that's kind of what we would have to do to make the playoffs, but you never know. either way, I like the team, and I think we're only gonna get better, and I think we're gonna have a few months off for spring or for I guess winter. I don't think they start up spring ball until like March or something like that. So we should have a few months off, and I'm hoping everybody wants to come back, or at least most everybody wants to come off. I get it. Some people's schedules change and all that sort of thing, but I think this team could do something in the future, and I sure would like to say that I captained the best team in San Francisco league ball at some point. So let's. So I'm hoping that that's a thing we can
get you a nice piece of hardware.
Yeah, well, it's not even the hardware. I just go talk to my friends back in Illinois, and they'd be like, "Oh, you've been playing softball. How's it going?" "Oh, well, I manage the best team in the city, so I think we got a long way to go. I think we had a long way to go for that, because a couple like super established teams like Easy Freezy, the team I filled in with, the Furies, like both have been together a long time and both play well all the time. So like
consistency.
They're beatable. Like I think we could beat them, but it's like I don't know. It's like one of those where you have a team that makes the playoffs every year. They don't necessarily win it every year, but they're always there and they always have a good program, versus a team that nobody saw coming and sneaked in the playoffs and then won it all this year. Doesn't necessarily mean they're consistently the best team in and out every year, and I kind of feel like that's where we're going to fit for now, is that we're going to have to be that team that sneaks in and wins something, and then hopefully over time we put things together and they're like, oh, this is a team that's here to stay, and you always got to look out for them, that sort of thing. So I think we can do that.
You do have the coolest uniforms on the field, though.
Absolutely. Totally love it. Shout out to Yuki for designing the unis. I don't know. I'm gonna quick. It's not really a plug, but suggestion. If you have a team, if you have the players that are willing to pay like $30 for a sweet jersey, it's super fun. Like, I don't know why. It's just fun for everybody to have a jersey and all play together. I don't know why.
It creates a little bit more buy-in from somebody when you're all wearing the same thing. It gives you a little bit more skin in the game, if you will.
Yeah. I don't know. I just like showing up and seeing everybody's jersey, everybody's got their number and their nickname and everybody's got the jersey on. I don't know. I think it's cool. I think it's fun.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just weird little kid playing dress up that, that I like, but that's why I get the knickers. I got the long socks. Like, I do the whole thing. I love it.
He's not kidding about the knickers, by the way.
Absolutely. Dude, since I was a kid, I love the 3/4 pants. Love them. So
those are called capris.
They're called knickers, all right? They're old school. Anyway, so I think the teams could go places. We got sweet unis. And, just got to keep playing together and put it together. So
stay tuned.
Yeah, hopefully it'll keep going. So we'll see. Thank you for watching, everyone. We really appreciate it. Depending on what platform you're watching us on, like, subscribe, leave us a comment. Anything you can do to let us know that you like what we're doing here. We really appreciate it. We'll see you next time.